Bro, why are these so hard to say? Why are these so hard to do? Hello, everyone. My name is Coden Colors. I'm going to be explaining, or at least just showing off this whole system I created that I like using to have dynamic map events or dynamic skill events, anything really that um, the main purpose of it is you want to avoid having an absolute shit ton of if statements and a shit ton of switch case statements because those are a no-no and it's going to be super confusing. It's going to cause you might get the job done. Don't get me wrong. You'll get the job done by writing like uh maybe like 50 if case statements, if else statements or 50 switch case statements, but I don't think that's really that good of an idea because eventually you have to go back in there and remember which fucking one is it that is doing the bad. So what I use is I use an anonymous dictionary lookup table, and I use this to dynamically invoke anything that I need to do. And I'm gonna show you what I do, and it's kind of cool. I think it's cool. Not everyone's gonna think it's cool. So I'm gonna go inside of my database here. I use a sick tool in Visual Studio Code that allows me to just type SQL comments. So you can see I have a bunch of like ones here and just a bunch of bullshit, but yeah, so there's a bunch of SQL here, and I just do a bunch of stuff like boom, 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 and it allows me to look it up. So I'm going to load up all the party members. So for instance, combat systems, specifically turn-based combat systems as well, they like to have a different amount of players inside of them. So you have a party member table, yeah, and this party member table has 4 people in it. We're specifically going to be looking at Emma because she's the only one that I wrote down to do the thing for. So Emma, here we are. Emma TBA is equal to all of this other stuff. Now, inside skill keys, this holds track of all of the different ones. This uses a many-to-many relationship, which are the people who occasionally come by to watch me write code on my stream. Appreciate you guys so much. Helped me understand what a many-to-many relationship was, and then I was able to fully incorporate it into my plan. Not really an evil plan, but just a cool plan. So you can see Emma TBA. Here she is. She doesn't have a last name yet. That's why it's called TBA. Emma TBA right here is a party member, and she has quick arrow, shadow ball, and speed up. That is really all you need to know, except now I need to go and show you what the skills are. There are 4 skills in this database currently. Don't get me wrong. There will be many more, because if you're making a JRPG, there's a lot of different fucking skills. So the most important thing here is there's this column in this table of skills that's called a function pointer. And the only one I've written right now is called quick arrow. Now, you could be writing a bunch of bullshit like this, but I kind of got sick of doing that, so I didn't. So I have this other tool. Give me a second. I want to keep this one. No, I don't. Okay, I have this other tool here. Database tool. It's just called database tool. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to open up this database here. And there we go. So now I can look inside of all of these skills. So you can see quick arrow has this. It also lets me change this. So if I wanted to say big fist, not first, big fist underscore skill, and then hit the update button, it is successfully updated in the skills table. If I go into the skills table and I reload it, boom, boom, bang, there it is. You don't have to sit here and write a bunch of SQL commands. You can just do a bunch of stuff on the screen with it. Now that did take a while, but it was kind of fun to write. So, and I use the .NET framework because I'm a .NET framework slut, and that's what I do for my job. So here we are. And that's how that works. So now, if we close this and we go back into here, this is our combat system. So it's called combat system.cs. Hooray. At the very beginning of this, there's a state machine, and this is a specific case in the state machine that has the word skill attacks. Specifically, there are many states of this state machine because it just be like that. So, now, even though there's a lot of different states in the state machine, for instance, there's like a lot, there might be, oh, this might actually tell me, there's 23 states in it. We don't use all of them. Some of them I just use as a keep track of thing, so then I can essentially that's a harder thing to explain, but not all of them are used. Some of them are just used there to keep track of the past state so then I can occur and choose the next future state. That's a better way to think about it. Because when you think of a state machine, a lot of things you have to do are kind of set flags and remember what happened in the past. Because when you learn you code, most of the time you're running something that runs once. That's not at all what I do. It is always an infinite loop, which is why we have a state machine. But this is the skill attack state machine. It's pretty cool. What it really does is it runs all of this code. And I'm going to comment out what I did, and I'm going to show you what it originally looked like. Control K, Control U. So I've commented out this thing called invoke, and I brought back all of this stuff. So I'm gonna hit the go button now. You might be wondering what I show you all the databasey thing. It will all make sense soon. Don't you worry. But so I'm gonna hit the T, which loads up an entirely new system. Not system, an entirely new combat interface or interaction. So imagine like you were walking around and then like the screen cracked and then boom, you're in combat. Pretty much like that. I'm gonna hit 2, which loads up the skills. You can also, yep, you can see it there, but it's just for me. And you can see it shows quick arrows, shadow ball, and speed up, which are the 3 skills that she has. Cool. Next, I'm going to hit the 1, and that will then bring me up this little arrow. The state machine handles input and everything along those lines. I'm going to hit the space bar, which is going to select, and there you go. I attacked. Now what you saw is the current character that is brought forward here goes forward a little bit, the enemy goes backward a little bit, and then the enemy goes back to its own position, and your character then goes back to their normal position. That's the order of what it happens. So remember that. I'm now going to comment out and uncomment out the guys that I did. So that the movement and the hit sparks are all done with this code here. Now I've commented them out, which means that it's not going to do anything, which is a lie because I have this skill method .invoke. So what this does is it invokes reflection, and reflection is a super cool thing you can use for some weird fucky stuff. Not really fucky, but you can use some. It's pretty cool. So what I do is I grab the skills, which essentially means that I'm grabbing like this column. Sorry, I'd be grabbing this column. That's what this means. Sorry, this row. I'd be grabbing this row, which means I know its name. I know how much. I know it's a physical damage type. I know it does damage. I know it has a damage multiplier of 1.2. It doesn't do elemental damage. It has no weapon type. It has a modifier called throwing hands, and it has a function pointer of quick arrow skills. So I can grab the function pointer that I just pointed out, and I can get its function name. Then I can use reflection and essentially put in the entire correct assembly name, which is combatsystem.components.combatdelegates.skilldelegates, and that gets me the class. And then in that class, I could get the function name, which we know as quick arrow skill. Then from there, I can dynamically invoke this quick arrow skill. And what's super cool about this is you can, excuse me, you can bind parameters to this, which is awesome, because if you can't, it's kind of dumb. You can't do a lot of stuff if you don't have parameters sometimes. Specifically what I do is I send it this combat system, which is a singleton. So I'm sending it this combat system, which is just the instance of it. So I can grab all of these other methods and instance variables, specifically the properties, because you can't access fields. And that allows me to call these things like Q movement system. And you can see when I go inside skill delegates, there's the method. It's called quick arrow skill, and it uses the combat system. And you can see it uses the combat system to get its party member, the current one, get its enemy index, which is the enemy you want to hit, and then it also moves the character. Now, you saw that I moved the character forward because in the beginning, it was kind of thought that it was a physical skill. Quick arrow skill, however, is not that. It is an arrow, and I personally don't think that you would lunge forward while shooting an arrow. So, this is what we be. Now I hit this and I hit the space bar. Boom, it moves forward. So what you should have saw is it happened a little fast, but the character here, Emma, she moved back, and then this person was attacked, and then she moved fully back, and then this person moved back. That's what happened. So it changes what happened. So instead of lunging forward, it lunges backwards. And you can think of it like, it would make more sense if it was called Big Arrow, because it's like, oh, a super powerful arrow, or like a gun that has a lot of knockback and it shoots you backwards. But overall, instead of going forward, she goes backwards now. Now that's a super simple change, but what's super powerful about this super simple change is you have this method here now. And as a coder, I can put anything I want in here. Now, after I go back and I write in combat system the methods needed to be able to dynamically call other events, like, so I want to make like a generic action queue. So currently we have a action queue just for movement, but I need one to be able to have movement. I need it to be able to have sound effects, sound cues, music cues, animation, particle effects, projectiles, anything that you see on the screen or you hear. It needs all of that to be in there, and because it all needs to happen on tick, on update, because that's how the state machine works. So now that I have this, you can do that. Now I can write another one for speed up. And here's the best part. It doesn't have, and when I'm done with quick arrow, I just close it. I never look at it, and I write the next one. You don't have to sit there scrolling through a bunch of if statements and whatnot. And there you go. It's pretty cool. And obviously, you can do other cool stuff like that too. You can load an entire another screen and then show an animation. You could load a video. Anything along those lines. It's great. And it's all dynamic. So eventually, when this whole thing has like, maybe like 50 to 100 skills, I don't have to go through 50 to 100 if statements, which will most likely have even more if statements in them and else's. I just have to go and find the function name, and that's it. And we use this for other things. I first wrote this for my job, and I wrote it as a terminal program. So we've all, used command prompt, and essentially I wrote command prompt, but for moving of motors. And I also has it so like these change color, and that's exactly what I did. I allowed you to change its color. So if you saw something called, if you typed enable, it knows that enable is a valid keyword, so it shows up. So the user knows, oh, okay, if I hit this, something should happen. I also use this for going around the map. So if you step on like tile like 29, for example, it might have an event on it. And this event in the past, not in the past, but others I've seen will do this, and they'll do it with like numbers. They'll be like, hello, I have this number. I've stepped on tile 29, and that occurs to be this event. And that event is a number, meaning it goes into a switch case statement of 32. And in 32, or 69, whatever you want, Lamau, then you write your code there. But then you're just in this giant mess, and I just don't want to be in there. It's just complicated. But instead, mine just has a dictionary lookup table of anonymous methods, and I bind the parameters to them, and we're good to go. In fact, it looks like, right, map events. Looks like this. So all of these things here, back to test, map, deli, all these things. These are actually things that I did not write. These are things that I wrote a tool to write for me, and that can be explained another day. But essentially what I did last year is I wrote a .NET graphical based engine to work in Monogame. And that guy can create maps via tiles, and then it can create map events, and you can create them all dynamically. And then when you hit the compile button, it writes all of this for you. And because you're If you're not a coder, that's fine. It'll still just change the map to the map you want. Perfectly fine. But if you are a coder, you can come in here and you don't need to just do a hard cut to black. No, God no. You can do fancy stuff. You could make fireworks appear. You could make you could make the screen shake. You could make you could make like sound of you could make anything cuz it's you have access to the code. It's not hidden. It's super cool. But that's it. That's the whole anonymous dictionary lookup table system that I like to use, and it's pretty good. This is like the first thing I'm actually like showing of this thing publicly. Um, I mean, obviously, there's way more here. There's like, as you can see, if you can't actually see it, but I'm scrolling over here. There's like 8 different projects for testing. There's like animations, combat particles. If you didn't, also I didn't explain it, but I use Monogame because I think Monogame is cool. It's cross-platform and all that good stuff. But what is complicated about Monogame is that it doesn't really give you anything at all, like at all. It gives you a cauliflower blue screen, and even if you want to change it to black, you need to know code, which is perfectly fine with me because I like writing code. I also really like knowing how things work on the inside. But what's super, super powerful is after you get through a lot of the pain of learning how this stuff works and you start creating your own like code base of how this stuff works, you wrote that code base. So when I load a sprite to the screen, it's my code. I wrote that code. And if it doesn't go right, I know where it went wrong pretty much immediately and I can go and fix it. Or if I need to add more, I can go add more. And it's still my code. Like now I have an entire system for loading sprites to the screen, specifically like with crops and scales. And then I expanded upon that further, and then I wrote the sprite sheet system, which allows animations to occur. Well, because again, I wrote all of that. If something goes wrong, I know how to fix it. But yeah, that's that. I hope this was interesting, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.